Heavy metals are chemical elements and therefore cannot be broken down. By extracting and dismantling them, we have provided the soil, air and water increasingly higher levels, which we then take up through food, drinking water and the air we breathe. Heavy metal's toxicity is largely due to the chemical form it exists. When they are present in organic compounds, are fat soluble and are then more available for biological life. Heavy metal's toxic effect caused by the abstract and binds to various proteins including important enzymes.
Dioxin is an organic substance which consists of carbon, oxygen and hydrogen. Usual dioxin is pretty harmless for the human body, but when we hear about dioxins in media, they talk about polychlorinated dibenzodioxins, which is a group of over 200 different chemical compounds with dioxin included. These dioxins is formed as a byproduct of different types of combustion. For example, combustion of plastic. Another process that led to high levels of dioxin was when we used chlorine to bleach paper pulp. During that process, a lot of dioxins were formed. These dioxins are fat soluble, and that's why they finally ends up in biological organisms, like herring and salmon. We are exposed by dioxin when we eat animal foods, mostly from fat fish from the Baltic Sea that have high levels of dioxins. The dioxins are stored in our fat and they have a very long half-life time, which is around 7 to 20 years. The impact of too much dioxins might be tumors, mutation and worsen immune defense. Children and fosters are extra sensitive and the central nerve system is often affected, which may lead to behavior disorders. Dioxin is transferred through the placenta and the breast milk to the foster from their pregnant moms. Since the fish from the Baltic Sea contains very much dioxin, the Food Agency Sweden recommends that fertile women and kids in Sweden only should eat fish from the Baltic Sea 2 to 3 times per year. That's why many Swedes have stopped eating fish. Since we have stopped use chlorine when we bleach paper pulp and got better on cleaning the exhaust from different combustions, the dioxins are much less than before. But there's still too much dioxins out in the nature, and that's why the fermented herring from the Baltic Sea are in danger.
PCB is an environmental toxin that have been used in machines and other plastic. In the beginning we didn't knew it was toxic. 1973 it was banned in Sweden. By the time that happened, it already had been used in 40 years. PCB has also been used as a safer option to burning oil to warm up your house. But people that work with this got chloracne. You get blisters mainly in the face and it leaves scars. During 1960 to 1970, researchers discovered that grey seals in the Baltic Sea had gotten hurt and had it more difficult to reproduce. After a closer look, you could see the damage on claws, guts, kidneys and bones on many of the seals. Almost 80% of the females was sterile. This is a result of that PCB has gotten out in the nature. The substance takes very long time for the nature to break down. They have banned new use for items that contain PCB, but there is still substance in the nature. PCB exists in the Baltic Sea. The substance damages some animals, but some of the animals just consume it. Fermented herring is one of the animals that just consume it without being damaged. But the bad thing about this is that we humans eat this. PCB come into our bodies from eating the fish. If you're pregnant, you should be very careful that you don't eat too much of this fish.
Especially fat fish from the Baltic Sea is containing much dioxins, and EU has restrictions for how high levels dioxin fish are allowed to contain if you are going to sell the fish on the free market. Since herring and salmon from the Baltic Sea have a content of dioxins that are over the restrictions, Sweden aren't allowed to export fish from the Baltic Sea to other countries. But we have an exception here in Sweden, so we are allowed to sell the fish here in Sweden and export to a few of the Baltic countries. And since we aren't allowed to export fish, many fishermen have to quit since they get economic trouble because they can't sell the fish.
As we said, we are recommended to only eat herring 2 to 3 times per year. Can we accept that? We don't think so. And if we want to eat herring also in the future, we have to do something about it, and that's now.